Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Now, speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out, thanks and appreciation to Philip Simon, Will Brax, Melby Styles, Troy Shuker, Bo Snail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, and David Wayne Foster. So a massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'm going to hand over to Discord and G+, so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Well, you're saying a bunch of he said, she said, have you not?
I spoke to him myself. Do you
I know,
not
but you also
understand
mentioned
English?
what he said and she said also.
Yeah, Enigma. Said the reason
Right.
why, because Paul is his boy.
So that's a he said then, right?
No, that's what Enigma said.
Yeah, he's a he, right? Enigma's a he, correct?
No freaking idea. And Flatzoid's got my balls twisted too, telling me it's my hostility that pushes people away. Don't worry. After today, Neil's going to be very gentle from now on. I'm going to say, excuse me, can I say something?
Like that movie Canadian Bacon? Sounds good.
I've never seen it.
And they portray Canadians as when they go into Canada, everybody keeps going, oh, excuse me, sorry, excuse me, even though they're being shoved through and everything. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna be different since I don't want to be responsible for pushing people away to non-reality. You know.
Hey man, that's not your responsibility. You're not a preacher. So I couldn't give a crap. Push people away, bring them to it. That's their business, right? I'm telling it like it is, and I don't expect anybody to walk away saying, oh, well, I've converted this many people, or I've unconverted this many people. Well, so be it. You know, that's their bag. In other words, I don't care. If you leave this arena thinking Earth's a sphere, I couldn't care less.
It's not shocking to you, though?
No.
Like if QE said tomorrow, I don't know, guys, I'm undecided.
Yeah, shocking. People think the world's a sphere, Neil. It's shocking. It's not at all.
So you're telling me if QE says tomorrow, I don't know, Nathan, I'm kind of undecided. That's not going to shock you.
Couldn't care less.
No, I got to get some of that English, what do they call it?
Get some self-assurance, right? It shouldn't matter to you what other people think, right? You should either know what you know or you don't, in which case maybe it's you that needs to be concerned about.
Hey, easy there, buddy.
I'm just saying. Me, I don't need Quantum Eraser to say the Earth's flat for me to know it is. I don't need him. I'm sorry if that offends you.
I'm not saying it's going to change. Hold on. You're misunderstanding me. I'm not saying it's going to change your opinion or my opinion, but it's not going to shock you. Like, you're sitting on this panel all this time. You're the one who brought forth all this knowledge to us, and you're undecided. What's wrong with you?
Nah.
I'm not saying I'm going to be swayed.
I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. So, Chris Monk did exactly that. So,
yeah, that's what they said to me last night, but I didn't know Chris Monk.
Well, in other words, in terms of these sorts of things, I've seen them all before, Neil. So, no, it wouldn't shock me. And no, I probably wouldn't care that much either. I'm sorry. I should be super passionate about it, right?
No, the thing is this. Okay, maybe it's where I came from. Maybe it's come from the streets. It's like somebody turned into the feds. It's like it's devastating. You're mad and angry, but it hurts your heart a little bit. I don't know. It could be me.
Okay.
Maybe I'm over passionate. Maybe Flatzoid's right.
And
Who
everyone's
knows?
entitled to their own religion. Now, we're pointing out it's a religion. Now, if people go back to the fold, so to speak, then more power to them, right? I mean, I don't try to undersell the negative aspects of knowing the reality that we live in. In other words, exercising a bit of free will and a bit of free thought isn't the desired position for a normie, and I'm considering myself a normie in this example, to be in, right? You're supposed to be subservient. You're supposed to be given the religion of the Western world and just accept it. You're not supposed to question it, let alone challenge it. So you're an outcast. Well, that's a very negative aspect to flat Earth. I'm sure I was asking John yesterday, the other John, father of a stolen child. Hello, by the way, John. And he was saying the same thing. No, I was just a bit devastated mentally about the fact that what I thought was the world isn't the world anymore. In other words, he didn't even give a hint at that aspect that I'm now detailing, which is that people don't want to be a part of a world where they'll be ridiculed. So they might turn back to the globe purely for convenience.
Yeah, but I took it a little personal when they're saying that it's the way they're being treated here. So we'll clear the air when he comes on. We'll ask him.
If people feel
Well,
like
you know,
go on, John, sorry.
one of the things that I love telling people, and it kind of messes with them, is they ask me if I believe the Earth is flat, and I say no. I mean, that's stupid. Who would believe the Earth is flat? If you believe the Earth is flat, you're dumb. And they're like, "Oh, okay, so you think it's a globe?" You know, like, no, God, no. That's even dumber. Because you either know or you don't. They know two ways about it.
Exactly. Once you know, then you can't unknow. And no amount of fallacy presented to you or rehashed globe arguments going to be presented to you. Now, it's going to be different for everybody. Now, obviously, it's very with the times and up to date when John gives his approach to Flat Earth story because it involves the Black Swan. Great. But that was his thing. That was what led him to this position. I.e., if you haven't got a radius to calculate the geometry that asserts the horizon represents the edge of Earth, then you haven't got the geometry to do it. So that at that point, for somebody who's a bit more mathematically minded and dependent on the models, is going to say, well, I haven't got the model anymore, so I've got nothing. And that might be your routine. It's different for everybody. But once you know, you know. Well, you're not going to... Nobody's going to present anything from this point forward or change their mind and have me think, oh, well, if he's changed his mind, because my position doesn't depend on anybody else's belief in the nature of our reality. I know it. I've experienced it. And there's nothing to prove anything that is beyond the obvious and observable flat nature. And the globe claim's an extraordinary claim, therefore would require extraordinary levels of evidence to convince me. And they just don't have it. So, is there any...
I agree.
Well, that's it. You don't need to worry about anybody else who leaves here and goes, oh, well, I still think it's a sphere. Good for you. Good for you, mate.
Yeah, if somebody on 24 Discord or somebody that I don't know, I see, you don't understand. I'm listening to the show before I became part of the show. Okay, so, there's a sentimental attachment to certain, like chocolate and you and QE and Paul. It bothers me a little bit. Like, wake up, man. What's wrong with you? Same thing with Bob when he started his nonsense, calling you a delivery boy and all other nonsense. I took that personal.
Good morning. When the delivery boy comes to my house, I take the stuff personally too. What are you guys talking about?
Nothing wrong with being a delivery boy.
I used to be one.
Me too.
Me too. I delivered pizza. I delivered everything.
Right, I did deliver
had
groceries. So when Bob says you're a grocery delivery boy, I was. Prior to being a YouTuber, in order to become a YouTuber, I had to have a transitional job. A part-time job I didn't give a toss about, and that was delivering groceries. So from jet setting and being a rep, I went to being a store manager of a pawnbroker, and then from that, which was also full-time, full-on, to I need something transitional. I want to become a YouTuber, and I was already well into making videos, So I needed something part-time. So I became a delivery driver because I like driving. I was a rep, and driving a grocery van, well, that's good. I like driving. So that's what I did. But now I'm pegged as some sort of, lower class citizen for being a grocery delivery guy. It's like, way to offend a huge chunk of people there who've got fairly menial jobs. Well, that
that's
for me
it.
was a menial job as a means to getting into YouTubing, which is precisely what I did. But if you want to hold that against me, it's just an ad hominem attack. Fine. Feel free. It doesn't help your argument.
When people have to go to that level, that means they've lost the argument.
Okay, hold
Exactly.
on, Tenth. Let me explain to you. Paul Hall is undecided. That doesn't freak you out a little bit.
No,
He's on the fence.
no, I just got off the phone with him. I'm not freaked out one bit.
Okay, so you know more than me.
Well, I know because I talked to him. I woke up to what was there on the type or the text, and I'm saying, well, I'll just give him a call. That's the way Christians do things. They talk to the person.
I don't have his number, and I spoke to him yesterday, but I hung up right away because I was disgusted.
Well, you've
Well,
got the
you need
common
to be more
decency
patient.
to discuss it behind his back, which is the right thing to do.
That's not what I did. Stop it.
Yeah, you just go to the source,
You
talk to him. There's no problem with Paul Hall.
You know what? To be fair, I got rid of the FE rule too. Now, people jump
Well,
on
that's
that
not
and then go,
surprising
what
with
are
you.
you FE or not FE? What's that?
Don't rumpus him, please, Neil.
I said that don't surprise me with you in the least.
No need.
See, this is exactly why I brought up this point.
Well,
Though
like
I
it is,
removed
man.
the FE role, I am still FE. You see, you guys are just following the he said, she said nonsense.
Neil's
Do
the
you well to
bitch.
speak
That's
directly
what
to the
Neil is.
person and
He's
get
a
to know
bitch.
him like
Shut
Got
up,
hold of his
Nathan.
handbag, and he's being a bitch.
just like 10th Man did. He spoke one-on-one with Paul Hall.
I tried to last night on Discord.
Hey, everybody.
I don't have his number.
Brian, I didn't see you come in there.
Oh, I
Sorry.
don't need this.
Hey, Brian.
Anyway,
Nobody will hear another word from me. You sure?
Anyway, back to
Go on the triangle for all I care.
I've heard that before.
Go on the triangle.
I'm gonna make sure this line's tied up indefinitely with you all knowing that I'm not gonna say another word on this. Not another word. Not one more word is going to be said by Neil on this. Not one more word.
Nathan,
I'm done.
Nathan,
done.
cut this piece out and make it like a quick button you can push every time when he violates it.
Neil's very passionate. He's Italian.
So when I was working at a grocery store, I would help the people with their food to their cars, and a lot of older people needed help. And so it was also a time where I was an athlete in wrestling, and my whole point was I was going to use this job to do some kind of exercise. So my record for pushing carts back to the store from the parking lot was 99 carts, all pushing uphill on a slight grade. So I had a great time being a grocery bagger and delivery guy.
I used to labour for block layers. I used to labour for often three block layers. 2 and 3 depends, and they're always fast block layers. One day I stacked 1,000 blocks, over 1,000 blocks, and shoveled mortar to build a wall, blocks on flat, within 5 hours. So
That's a lot of work, man. That's a lot of work.
I've got a great saying when I come across people like that. If everybody does a little, I don't have to do anything.
Well, yeah, I used to use it too for exercise, but what happens is sometimes if a job is too physical, is it ends up burning you out. So when you need to rest, you can't. You have to work. So you end up literally getting skinny because you're just working, and your body's never getting a chance to recover. You're not going to. If you worked every second day, you would be healthy, you would be strong. But if you know what I mean, it's not that you're not healthy and strong, it's just that your immune system is very good from being outside in all kinds of weather all the time. But especially if you're doing what I was doing, there's no indoor work, it's all outside all the time.
Right.
But what happens is that you end up getting wore out because you end up and the worst thing is that if you're someone, and I was someone who they give the worst jobs to, and you're willing to do them, and I'm one of these people they kept on giving the worst jobs to, continue with them. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's true. It's true of horses and mules and camels. They go. I mean, the camel is where it works the best is the desert. I mean, like nothing else. But then the mule can kick a horse's rear end because it's got something the horse ain't got. But the horse is the fastest of them all, but only for short periods of time. And so when I've talked to people that have owned mules and horses, and they have this 100-mile race, I think it's called, from Northern California all the way down to Southern California somewhere. I can't remember at what point they start. But anyway, it's a long race. And most of them use mules because they just last longer. But if they don't get rest in between and allow for those muscles, I mean, all that kind of stuff, you're absolutely right, man. You can't push yourself every minute.
Yeah, because you're doing an 8-hour day and you're starting early in the morning. And if you don't get enough sleep as well in between, no matter what sleep you get, you still need that extra rest, that kind of way. And I suppose being young as well didn't help me either, because as soon as the weekend came, I was out drinking and everything else, with my friends and all that. So as you do, but you just get wore out when you're just been working too much. You just get wore out. So your body just gets wore out, no matter what age you are. And I was young now, and I was able to keep going. Like I wouldn't be able to do it now what I was doing back then. And even at
I don't know, Brian. Brian, you think you won't, because I've been doing it. Now remember, the pandemic came. I'm off for over a year, and when I get back to work, am I going to be able to handle it? You'd be surprised what you're able to do. Right?
Yeah,
you could
you're
get
not
into
the
a
same guy. You're
Yeah.
not the same guy when you were younger. I mean, I know roofers who are over 60 years old. They can't. They say, "I wish I would have got out of this job. I have to do it. It's the only thing but I'm old and it hurts." And
it hurts, but I outwork the younger guys. I mean, I install
younger
more than
guys
they
don't
do.
know how to work. That's a whole different story. They
That's
could
true.
work. They could outwork you if they decided to work, but they
I
don't.
don't think so.
Okay.
Well, if they decided
welcome
to.
to Flat Earth
No.
Debate.
What's that, Nathan?
I said welcome to Flat Earth Debate. Hey, Adam, by the way.
Yeah. Well,
When I drop
Adam.
a chalk line to get it squared and make sure everything is correct, I do not use the center of the earth to get my straight line.
Yeah, and when you work hard, you go flat out. Come on, Nathan, get with it.
Oh, I like it. Much better. Hello, Adam. Can you hear us?
Afternoon, guys.
Hey,
How you
Adam.
doing, Adam? All right.
I'm with you. These youngsters of today, they don't know a day's graft.
Yeah, you got that. I had a guy that we tried to hire to come do a little weed whacking on 30 plus acres. And I couldn't get this guy out. So we just started looking for, people advertising. So we called this guy. He's 45 minutes away from me. And I said, "Are you sure?" He says, "Yeah, I'll come and do it. I do it for a living." I said, "Okay, how much are you per hour?" Blah, blah, blah. "Okay, yeah, okay, come on down." So he comes down. I open the gate. He comes on the property. He's got a truck. He's got his weed whacker. He's got everything. I mean, he looks good. And then he steps out. And it's like the clothes I'm wearing to attack the weeds, because I was going to do it, side by side with him. And the clothes he was wearing didn't match, meaning he had much nicer clothes than I did. And then he looked at what we had weed whack. He says, "No, I've got to double my price for this." And I said, "No, you agreed to that." And he says, "Okay, then I'm going." I said, "All right, bye." I ended up doing it all, and I'm 62.
They used to give my job to people who used to miss Mondays and stuff like that. They used to give my job to that person for 4 or 5 days. If that person was messing around and missing Mondays and stuff, they give them my job. They take away me from my job and give my job to that person. That's how my job was a punishment.
What's with the what's with the back to work vibe that's going on?
Sorry, Nathan?
Why are we all talking about grafting?
Because
no
it
idea.
started off with an ad hom when people say what we used to do as ad hom because they can't beat the arguments.
Hey, look at that bagel. It's a gay bagel.
What? I had gay bagel.
looking at it in a supermarket, and it's I guess it's the homosexual flag, right? The colors.
You're talking about the multicolored rainbow flag that's LGBTQ.
Yeah,
What the hell are you talking about?
I think a homo made these bagels.
Joking? Are you kidding?
I didn't get much.
What's
sleep
with the
last night.
homophobia? I don't get it. Why are you talking about gay bagels?
Anyway, did you know, Nathan, that when the navigator uses a sextant to shoot the horizon,
Hold on.
I've
delayed the intro for this. Hold on. 10th. What are you talking about, Neil? Just about to start the intro.
Oh my
I
gosh!
stopped because I could not quite believe my ears.
No, we have these things that every time we see the flag, the color, we point it out. My kids say, "Look, the gay flag thing," and they make a joke at it. So I seen the bagel and I just said, "Oh, look, the gay flag."
Not the gay flag. Anyway, let's not get into this. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Neil, Elijah, Father of a Stolen Child, Brian's Logic, Adam, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Afternoon, everyone.
Don't mention the day.
You see, you don't listen to Nathan. He asks to not mention a day, and you just mention it every time. Bad, bad, bad.
Anyway, let's not dwell on it.
If I mention the day and you bring it up, then that's a topic of discussion. So
I didn't bring it up, but let's bring up any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature.
Not on this Thursday.
Oh my god.
Probably
going out on Sunday.
Or any other Thursday. It's a
live,
really weak argument.
Oh, weak.
The puns, I can't stop this. The tirade's going to just continue if I try and prevent it. Earth curve edges, anybody?
No.
But they used to say block boats and buildings and stuff.
Yeah, then they found out it was optical.
Not geometric.
Well, you can, if you want, you can match your coordinates to all the coordinates that they give you on things like time and date. And your coordinates will match a globe, but you won't get any proof of a geometric horizon for this globe. Just letting you know.
Here, I could prove it to you, Nathan. I was trying to do it in the pre-show. When the navigator uses a sextant, they have to line it up with the horizon that can be seen on that particular day. Sometimes the weather is really nice and you've seen pictures of the sea horizon and just no clouds, no nothing, right? You see far. Other days it's fogged in and you can only see a couple of 100 feet in front of you as the horizon. So they have that as the baseline 0. That's your 180 line that has to be horizontal. Then you've got your star or moon or sun or whatever wandering planet you're shooting. Okay, they like you to not use the wandering planets as much as the stationary stars that move with the whole sky. So you line it up to that. Then you've got straight above you is your zenith, and you get your angle. Now, they shoot stars that are 3, 4, 5, 6,000 miles away. That horizontal straight line that's on the top of the ocean has to go that full distance for that angle to be true. Or it can't go like their orthographic drawings that show a small tangent plane line and then a zenith position going down to the center of the Earth. That whole line has to go the full 6,000 miles flat, 180. That's the only way you get your angle. But if the Earth is curving, which it's not, it won't work. So the sextant can't work unless that's one straight tangent line all the way 6,000 miles out. So do you see 6,000 miles? No. The 15 degrees below, there's too much stuff in the air and real refraction affects it. So even the navigation tools say don't shoot stars under 15 degrees because you got too much stuff in the air. So just shoot above that, and that way you'll have a precise reading. And there you go.
They're saying it's got to be flat.
Has to be all the way. Look, when they do it from the center of the Earth. Does that line from the center of the Earth where the two lines meet, make a corner, make the vertex at the center of the radius, does that line ever curve until it hits the surface of the Earth? No, it's always straight. Well, if you're doing it from the surface, it's got to stay straight too. And guess where they're shooting it from? The surface. The whole idea is that the only place in a circle you could even get a vertex is a central angle, the radius. But you have to prove we're living on a ball that's spinning and that you're shooting it from there. Who goes to the center of the Earth and shoots two straight lines?
Death, man, you just don't understand circumdicular geometry.
No, I understand.
Well,
how
actually,
real,
they're not.
Obviously, they're not is right. So the sextant proves that horizon, even when we can't see past a certain point, it's still straight and level.
But see, the thing about this is, what they're doing is they're imagining that they're doing something outside of reality while they're just using reality. That's all they're doing, isn't it? They're using reality, which is a straight line with the horizon, and another straight line up, and they're taking in their zenith. They have their zenith, they have their zenith and a horizontal to the horizon, perpendicular. They're hitting an angle there from then.
Right, but in their
between the horizon and the quant. Sorry.
No, but in their model of their heliocentric Earth that they want to push on us, there's curvature. Well, when does that curvature start? Well, at 1 foot high, it's 1.22 miles. Guess where you're supposed to do your dip correction for a sextant? You go to the level of the water. You're not even 1 foot above the water. You're at the water level. Now, where's the geometric horizon on their curved Earth? It's got to be a lot closer than 1.22 miles because you're taking it from the top of the water. Ooh. That's the dip correction angle for a sextant. If you're 9 feet above the ocean on a sailboat using your sextant, you minus 9 feet in your calculations to get that straight horizontal line, your 180, and then wherever the angle of your star is and where the 2 points meet of that line, that's your angle. But their Earth curves away, so that angle, if it curved, you can't get an angle. If that line on the ocean curved, you can't get that angle for a star 4, 5, 6,000 miles away.
Yeah, they have to work in an imaginary model into a reality situation. That's what they always have to do.
Well, Nathan said it best the other day. They doing it on the flat surface, and then they're reifying and saying it's coming from the center of the Earth.
Yeah.
Got to get an angle from somewhere. And as we're being told currently in the comment section, spheres don't have edges. Well, they've got to acquire one from somewhere, and they acquire a tangent plane by way of presupposing a line called a zenith to the centre of the Earth at a radius of 3959. From there, they can draw out the angles from that straight line to the centre of the presupposed spherical Earth, and then beg the question of a horizon to give them a tangent plane, and then map it all out flat. But so long as they've made those steps in the first instance to presuppose that their zenith points to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, it doesn't matter that they're actually plotting it out on a flat surface. Because that's what they're supposed to be doing, right? It's on a tangent plane. So yeah, it's spherical, but we're going to treat it as flat.
Yep.
Excellent.
Well, if spheres don't have edges, which they don't, then how would you use a sextant on it? You couldn't. The whole point of a sextant is that you have make a right angle. You can't make a right angle on a curve.
Yeah, guess what, Brian? The sextant does work.
It's got to be flat.
For thousands of years.
It does work, and that proves it's a flat plane.
Yeah. When you check Wiki, right, with regards to Earth's radius, after they explain all the different models, spherical, ellipsoid, all of that, there's a section in there that says, although you can disregard the model because in practical application, they only use sea level. So there you have it.
Right. And they'll have no shame in saying it too. Well, we use sea level. Level, you say? Yeah, but level doesn't mean level. Right, Jose Ramos is having a moan at me via Super Chat, so thank you very much for the Super Chat. When it comes to YouTube banning people, Nathan acts as a globetard. The only way you can see this is if I pay. I'm a nobody, and I'm shadow banned. Okay, I haven't banned you. So, my bad. Not intentionally, or not by me. So, if one of the mods has banned you, I'm sure they had a good reason. But thank you for the Super Chat.
Nathan, I got a picture in Masterby. If you put it up, I found this very interesting. Saw it yesterday.
Sure, and then we'll move on to a few more housekeeping questions. Been a couple of shows that we didn't get through all of them, which is okay, but nice to actually do that. Bring it up. Okay, got a picture of a lake, right?
Yeah, okay, so you see this lake, the mountain, and then you see the reflection on the water. And it was interesting. It's the first time I saw someone do this. And then they said, that yellow line, if you draw right where you think those pictures, the reflection starts on the bottom versus the actual above the water image, that's your horizon. And it's the same distance. I have to finish the video, but I thought this was pretty interesting that you can use a reflection, right? This almost I have to see if this is how that artificial horizon works in a sense. I have to see if it's got some of the same components. I'm not certain though.
Just a gyro, isn't it?
I don't know, I just never seen someone use a picture of a reflection, a perfect still water, perfect reflection, the mountain peak, like he took A, that peak is also A at the bottom with that little sign next to it. So it's perfectly reflected. And then he says, where would the horizon be? And then he draws that red line. I'm saying, wow, that's an interesting way of figuring out where the horizon is.
Yeah, because it's an optical effect as opposed to a physical geometric sphere edge horizon called Earth curve. So let's round this out. The horizon is not Earth curve. Any evidence of an axial rotation? Earth-based.
No, we don't experience 15-degree drift of any kind. If we were spinning, we would see it.
50 degrees of what?
15.
15 degrees of what?
Drift.
No.
What drift?
That's what I'm saying. What drift?
No, that's a description of what?
Of
15
anything not on
degrees
the
of
Earth.
drift?
Of anything not attached to the Earth.
No, of the radius. Radial rotation.
We
Which
killed that in
radius?
the previous question.
I seen it on the intro to As the World Turns, the soap opera.
Yeah, I remember that. That's
The new
right.
one. It's been used.
Bum 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 bum.
What's the
They
guy's
forgot
name?
to turn it on in the old NASA footage where they were shooting from the so-called outer space, and Earth wasn't turning until they turned on the motion.
Right.
There's a guy who made videos, parodies of flat earthers and the drama as opposed to the arguments that would take place in the flat earth quote unquote community, and he called it As the Earth Turns. I just can't remember his bloody name. It's about 4 years ago. Smaller YouTuber who still hangs around occasionally. It'll come to me.
They'll all end up in the general hospital.
Well, the reason we don't.
Well, boom.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Somebody in my chat today said that it was close.
How did they know?
So I said, how close?
Well, it's close today, or it's closer today,
Closer
or
than
it's
you-
always close.
No, he just said, no, the
Closer
sun
than
is
you
very
think.
close to us. I says, okay. So where is it then?
Tangible.
Like, can you point on a map where it is?
Above the map somewhere.
Oh yeah, on a map, above a map. It's basically making things Euclidean. So where is it?
What, the intangible object in the sky that moves as you move towards it, that hasn't got a location. An apparent location is not a physical, actual location.
Right. It's like asking somebody looking at a 3D picture where you have to cross your eyes slightly and you see a three-dimensional shape in there. It's like, okay, so exactly where in space is this three-dimensional object you see right
Good
now?
example. Yeah, good example. You see all the blurry mess on a 2D picture, and it's just a mess of wibbly wobbly colours. And as you focus, it becomes an image, right? And then somebody says, give me the depth, give me the centimetre value to the back of the guy's head if it's a picture of somebody, like a portrait that emerges from this blur of colour. Well, you can't give a centimetre distance to it, right? Because it's completely intangible. It's just an optical effect. Well, the sun, that's about as much as we can say with certitude. It's an optical effect. But what do we know about it? Well, very little. That's the answer. So how far is it? Well, we don't know, do we?
Nope.
Well, when you watch soap operas, you do get a clean view.
Oh, that was not that great.
Wow.
All right, sorry.
Now,
I'll try better. I'll try
that's
better
washed
next
up.
time.
That's what that is.
I disappointed 10th man. I feel bad now. My whole goal for the rest of the day is to redeem myself.
Okay, rinse and
10th
repeat.
man.
Don't let it be. Right.
Maybe call yourself 10th pun.
Let's move on. Let's move on. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
None whatsoever.
What is gravity?
Well,
There was a pilot. Hold on. There was a pilot on 24/7 Discord late last night, and very interesting the things he said. The
What'd he
flight
say?
simulator, when he was in, the way they have the flight simulator, they have a drastic arc, like curve on the horizon, and then when you get out into real flight, you notice that it looks different than in there. You know, so he was really touching on some good things. You got to listen to it if you get a chance. The pilot of one of them big
Where would we listen to that, Neil?
planes.
24/7 Discord, he said.
Okay.
Cutting in, I think it's illegal. You cut in his mic, by the way, when you're talking. I know it's tempting to nod along when people are talking, but it just cuts the mic. Anyway, so no then. Scientific thereof.
Did you see my latest video, Nathan? On
damn it, no, I didn't.
Well, it's causing a bit of bother with the borders because I just pointed out, because I said it several times, but a good few times before, but saying it is not the same as making a video about it. So I made a video about the fact that Isaac Newton, the word gravity didn't exist in his time. He wrote the Principia in Latin. He used the word masse, not mass, or missa, another word for mass, which basically describes a bulk of something, which would have been there's a couple of different descriptions for that, or different definitions for that in Latin, but like there is in English, but the one he was referring to was a bulk, like a bulk of something, and gravitas, which means weight. He used the word vires or impetu, which means force. But he was talking about weight as a force, like his laws of motion and other things. So he was talking about weight, force, but a weight as a force, or weight causing a force. He never, ever assigned a cause to weight, which is what gravity is. Like gravity as a force, 106 year out of date gravity. He never assigned that. That came along afterwards. It was an English translation of his Principia that came out after he died. That started that stuff. That's when that started. It's supposed to have come out just after he died, but I have a feeling that that's not true. It came out a long time after he died. But it doesn't really matter because he wasn't alive at the time. So it's all based around the actual definition of the words that he used in his Principia, and not the nonsense that the ballers go on with. And they're not happy with me at all.
So basically, a very rough analogy, what happened with Newton is kind of what happened with Jesus after the Catholic Church came into being.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that. Guess what? They're doing it.
My subscriptions feed. I've had to go to your channel to find it. So I said no because I'm typically the first to watch your videos. As you know, I always comment, try and always comment on them. And I was like, oh, new Brian's Logic video. I'd expect to see that in my subscriptions feed, as you're one of the few channels I actually intentionally watch almost immediately when the video's released. Yeah, it's not in my subscriptions feed. So I've just gone to your channel. I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't seen that. And I scrolled through I thought I'll double check before I say it. I scrolled through the subscriptions feed just to see if I've just missed it. I just happened to have missed it. And no, it's not there. So they didn't punt that one to me, Brian. So I'm sorry. I rely on my subscription feed to let me know when people I'm subscribed to release a video. And it's not there. So I've just put a link. I'll just put it in a couple more times in the live stream chat. Hopefully people will go and check it out, as will I. Because I haven't. But I will.
Thanks, Nathan. Yeah, I'm getting hidden. That's what's going on with YouTube. They're just not promoting me, obviously. There's certain, obviously, words I'm using. The same maybe the video before that, I don't know if you saw that one, where I talk about how inertia debunks a force of no origin is the name of it. That's getting a lot of negative off the ballers too. I have a lot more ballers coming in attacking me and commenting than I do have flat earthers. So it's like as if it's been shared to the ballers more than it is to the likes of yourself. So
that's good news.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, check it out if you're in the live stream.
Thank you.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, but that's called your name is ringing bells. Like if you're a tough guy and you're doing things like these guys are tough guys making these videos and ballers are going crazy, your names are ringing bells all over the place.
Yeah, if you're a high-profile person you come out with that, then suddenly Neil deGrasse Tyson will pay you a visit.
Who are we expecting to pay a visit to? Someone corrected me on this, actually. I said, Mick Jagger will be getting a visit from Neil deGrasse Tyson then. But
yes.
No, from what I had, I think it's Anaconda Malt Liquor explained to me in the comment section that no, after being interviewed, he's saying that he's actually mocking all of the words he used, Q-tards and flat earthers and anti-vaxxers.
You could believe that if you want.
Mocking them. Now, I watched, because I thought I'll get a take on another take on it, and Russian vids is always all over these things like flies on the proverbial dog doo-doo. So I checked out Russian vids' take on it, and he is sort of halfway in between. He's sort of saying that, yes, Jagger and Grohl are both very much part of that world, i.e. puppets, which I probably agree with to a certain degree. But like with everything that he punts, Russian vids, that is. He's saying it's 99% deception and they throw the 1% truth in there. But that's all it is. So you think, okay, so it's easily spinnable into the negative, but by the same token, Russian vids' take on it is just, yeah, they're going to mention things that are truthful mixed in with all the other garbage, because that's what they do. And he's right, that is what they do.
Right, they're using it mockingly as a jewel to draw in attention. The thing is, though, it's true. So it doesn't matter what they think about it or say they think about it. They're just getting away with it, with actually giving a virtue signal to truthers, even if they deny it. So it doesn't matter what he's doing. He's just skating the fence.
Okay, can you
he's
stop
skating the fence. Could fall off any moment, but he's doing it.
I would suggest it does matter. It's significant. Even if you accept, and I quite happily do that, it's a controlled narrative, particularly old rockers like that. The point is, it's still in there. So first they mock you. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. The stage has begun to the point that a megastar like Mick Jagger has put it in there. It's part of the narrative now, and they're dealing with it. And so it's a positive for me. Whatever spin they want to put on it in terms of how they then justify why they mentioned it, so they don't get ridiculed, it doesn't matter. It's in there now.
Isn't that the process?
That's my point too.
The process of acceptance is to ridicule, violently oppose, and then accept as being obvious to everybody.
Right, and then they get the opportunity. See, look, yeah, we couldn't say that we believed it, but it needed to be out there, and then they're gonna get all the glory.
Yeah, that's like Jagger will be the great. Yeah, I knew it was gonna be out there, so I mentioned it. Like,
well, I don't understand.
Yeah, with that voice, exactly.
Well, George Harrison says, while my guitar gently weeps, he says, I look at the world and I notice it's turning. That's not true, because you don't notice anything turning. That's an outright lie.
Isn't that though what the likes of Rumpus and them do? They fight against something that's an absolute fact when it's eventually pointed out to them, right, in no uncertain terms by people on their own side, let's say Veritasium, which gravity is not a force, even though Rumpus and them still haven't accepted that. They fight against it. And then when they accept it, they start telling you that they were telling you all about it all along, when they were never telling anyone anything. They are the idiots. You know what I mean? Isn't that true?
Well, that seems to be the path of FE.
Yeah.
If you ask me, that's, when it was originally released, if you will, back in 2014, 2015, if you want to call that the YouTube entry, because it's been around forever, obviously. The Earth is obviously unobservably flat, always was, always will be. But in terms of the prevalence in a world that believes it's a sphere, for us, it's sort of that sort of time. But people immediately jumped on the idea that, no, this is a psyop, sort of a controlled opposition narrative. Now, that came from both people who didn't believe that the Earth was flat and people who knew that it was. They both were of, not everybody, but there was equal amounts of people on both sides that are saying this is being put out for a reason by the powers that should not be. Now, whether or not there are any powers that should not be beyond the ones that they tell us about, I don't know. If there's a hidden hand, I don't care either. Because I know the nature of my reality, and that's really all I'm concerned about, as selfish as that may seem. But the point is that it could be very well the case that this has been put into the commonplace setting that we all experience on a daily basis, be it advertising or YouTube or television, because that is the world we live in, and eventually that will come out. So you've got to retain some control over how it comes out. Otherwise, there could be panic, a load of pandemonium, people rebelling, and you can't. If you're a control system like government, then you've got to keep control. So maybe the way to do that is to put it out in a certain way and have a plan in the way that it's being done. In which case, we're all just pawns, and we're just part of that process, making it all seem very pathetic. Because eventually, we will just be cast to one side as Mick Jaggers and people like and go, "Yeah, we knew all along." I won't do another Mick Jagger.
That's correct, Nathan.
The second impression weren't as good as the first, Nathan, but I thought that was quite a good.
Well, I said that was one of the benefits of heliocentrism, that it keeps the maniacs contained.
That's true. Keeps people under control. And, and that's just the purpose of government. That's what it's for. So if that particular religion is particularly good at keeping people under control, keeping their viewpoint nihilistic, then that's advantageous to people who want to keep us all nicely herded and under control. Well, once you accept that, if you haven't got something in place that's going to replace it, then that could be a problem if you want to keep people under control. So the chances are there are measures in place that our world's going to be changed in terms of the paradigm or prevalent Western world religion, because that's all we have.
Well, what does government mean?
The etymology, mind control.
Governmental, right? The mind?
Yeah, to govern the mind, to control the mind. Yeah, that's the etymology. But the modern meaning means what it means in terms of what the common man views it as. Now, that also has lots of words that mean control within the definition, but, it is what it is, and you can assess whether or not there's a hidden hand behind government or whether they're just doing what they do, and often it's very much out there, right? We're in 2021 now, for anybody who comes back to this after the fact, and we've just gone through a whole series of lockdowns across the world, and that was very much open and overt, and people knew what was being done, and were told that it was being done, and people did it. Well, it's not so easy when you've got a whole bunch of government, what do you call them, branches that are literally deceiving the world about the world. Well, you've got to scale that down over time, and descending it into a kind of kid show farce, which is what they seem to be doing, making it to the point where, I don't know, to a degree they've got SpaceX doing them this favour as well, making it look so poor that your general member of the public will laugh at it initially. And then after the fact, maybe we get told that Starman or whatever he is actually supposed to be out in space. And they go, no, really? But that's the reaction you need. People to sort of chuckle at the idea that you've got these religious views out there in the form of CGI and Starman out in a car in space. But you need people to have a little chuckle about it first before they can relinquish that paradigm without there being a cognitive break that causes people pain, too much pain. And they're going to want to get answers that they might not have. And, I don't know, I'm saying all this with the assumption, working under the assumption that it is a PSYOP, and there is a plan in place, and that, like you say, that the reason it makes its way into the mainstream and is being discussed over the bar in EastEnders in our soap operas is because it's going to eventually get out anyway, and they've just got to figure a way of getting it to be ridiculed, violently opposed, and then accepted as being observably obvious for everyone all along anyway. So that does take time. But then again, maybe I'm putting too much, in this particular devil's advocate way, too much emphasis on the fact that there's a plan behind all of this. Maybe there isn't.
Nathan, I think the plan at this moment is, it's real because it looks so fake. I think that's the extent of the plan.
Wouldn't that be your earliest stages? If you're going to relinquish a whole paradigm, you start off by, hinting at the idea with a bit of reverse psychology. So it's real because it looks so fake is just reverse psychology, if you ask me.
Right. I don't think they really have a structural strategy for beyond that. Right.
Check it out. The one person I thought would be behind me playing devil's advocate for a claim that there's a PSYOP behind Flat Earth would be Pete Shea, who was literally the person I had in mind when I was saying there's people on both sides who say this. And he's in the chat saying, Nathan's bullshitting. No, I'm playing devil's advocate for an argument you make, Pete. Ugh, I could spit.
Yeah, that's unacceptable. So now he has to oppose your opinion again.
All right, so because
Nathan,
I've played...
we all work for you, and what's his name, Mr. Boss, David Weiss, don't you know that?
Yeah, that's a farcical narrative that's come because of people like Pete Shea, saying it's a PSYOP, controlled narrative. We're all paid agents. We're all actors. So we were like, okay, we are. Dave Weiss is in charge of all of us. Why not?
We are paid agents. Donate to the super chat right now.
Well, there's another possibility too. I don't have a better word for it, but the principalities. If you wanted to create an army, you'd have to turn everyone into nihilists first. And that's what heliocentrism does. So once everyone's nihilistic in their approach, if you take that away, it could get violent.
Well, I
Yeah,
know for a
decent
good
point.
chunk of people who come to the realization that the Earth is flat, certainly for myself, the contemplation of a creator is pretty much lockstep with it. You know, it follows almost immediately after for a lot of people. That's why there's so many God botherers in this arena. No offense to any God botherers, but, you know, that's why. Because suddenly your nihilistic viewpoint's shot out of the window, because what are you going to rely on in terms of the vast cosmos of space and the infinite existence of nothing, the ever-expanding blah, blah, blah. You know, all of those things leave you in a nihilistic outlook, sorry. And that's not going to be great if you suddenly realise that, no, this could have only been created. Where are you going to go from that? You suddenly start looking a bit more internally. Or you brace against it, and I think a lot of the time that's possibly, I'm just speculating, why people do brace against it. I say that they've got too many skeletons in their closet, and when you come to the idea that we might be in a very much contained system, this is it. This is it for us. Well, that makes us a lot more special, but it means that you can't just get away with thinking, it doesn't matter. We're an insignificant speck of dust in an ever-expanding soup of nothingness. So who cares? You know, like you say, that's good for making an army, though.
Right, but that army, well, that you can then convince that army that they are imprisoned here.
I think that's the breaking point for a lot of people who even look into it. They get to the point where they realize or have to confront that there is a God, you know, the ontological primitives, and it becomes unavoidable. But at the very core of like their being, they just do not want to accept reality, or cannot accept reality, or are so far along involved in the delusion that they've been taught and believe in now that they simply don't want anything else. It's a very, very touchy subject, obviously, but I think delusion is a huge part of it. And I see this a lot when talking with people. It sucks to see, but at the end of the day, if people are delusional about very simple facts of reality, there's not much you can do for them. And it's just going to be mental pain for them the rest of the time.
Couldn't agree more.
Why do
Very,
people
very well
embrace
said.
delusion? It's because they can't handle the truth, whatever it may be, in order for them to move in that direction and step away from reality.
There's also a lot of self-assessment that you don't have to do if you're in a nihilistic world. So, you know, that sort of looking at the mirror at what you actually are, definitely not fun if you're a narcissist, which is a very small percentage, maybe 1 in 20 people. So the majority of them are going to be more like what you've described than what I've described. You know, scared of the mirror is going to be those monsters. And the rest of the world are just so delusional that they don't want to let that go. And perhaps also peppered with the fact that they have themselves ridiculed flat earthers and don't want to be a part of that if they're considered that. So just read out this.
Oh, no doubt.
Right, that's also part of handling the truth, by the way, yourself.
Again?
Watching yourself in the mirror and seeing who you're really looking at is also part of confronting, handling the truth. So, yeah, there's a lot of people that have built up quite a lot of difficulties with that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm driving at. You've got to have a certain amount of self-assessment. And when I say the skeletons in the closet, it's the things that you think, it didn't matter. How I treated that person, or how I behaved in this particular circumstance, or whatever. Those sorts of considerations you can put to the back of your mind if you think that it's all for nothing and you live in an empty world and you're a tiny speck of dust in it. Well, if you suddenly realise that, as you put it, you can put the spin on that we're trapped here or imprisoned here, those are very negative spin. You know, if I view it as, no, we live in a very special place with a beautiful balance of harmony and equilibrium and order and chaos all at the same time. It's a magical, marvellous, incredible place that we live in, and it's very special. And likewise, there's a huge amount of influence I can have over the world that I live in. There's also a huge amount of joy that I can take from it. Now, if I focus on the hive mind that is the Western world and how everybody else takes in their environment, then I'd be as depressed as they are, the globeheads, that is. And that's why in the pre-show I'm saying, well, I don't care. You know, if one of our own, as Neil was describing, says, oh, well, I'm in two minds now, I think Earth might be a sphere, Neil's question to me was, would you care? Well, no, not really, because that's their bag, not mine. You know, I'm at peace with my monsters, to speak to Arwen's point, and I had to face them. You know, find out flat Earth is real, and you go, okay, that logically follows that there's going to be a creator. I don't like that, and I rebelled against it because I didn't want to assess any of those horrible monsters. You know, I now know what my demons are, but nobody wants to face their own demons, and it's much easier not to when you're in a heliocentric world. I've got to read out the super chat, so thank you very much indeed to Kevlar. Fear is their weapon, but knowledge is a more powerful weapon. Thank you, Nathan, and the rest of the panel for keeping us armed with knowledge. Oh, wow, thank you very much indeed. That's quite touching. Thank you, Kevlar, for the super chat as well. Much appreciated. Also, LV23, which gives me money. Really appreciate it. A lot of money too. $25. Wow, thank you very much indeed. Really, really appreciate it.
You are now officially a paid agent for today, Nathan.
I'm also a trained actor. That's what I did at college.
Right.
What if Pete thinks
So
I'm
Pete
joking?
Shea
when I
was
say that?
right after all.
Well, just Pete calls me a paid actor. I'm like, no, I run a show that's a debating show, so there's no scripts, there's no acting. Now, you could say you're putting on an act. In other words, I've got a certain persona. Reality doesn't really match with that either, because I'm pretty much exactly the same stroppy bastard when I'm not on camera or doing the show, or, you know, the same joyous person as I am now, as I'm in a very good mood, having just got a brand new mattress and slept really well last night. You know, it's one of those. But Pete wants to presume that there's a psyop going on, despite the fact that he was talking about me bullshitting earlier. When
Go back to sleep.
Say again?
Go back to sleep. Shut up.
Trying to sleep.
Go back to sleep in your new bed.
Oh, right.
I have another thought. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just a quick thought on the PSYOP thing. Maybe that is part of the bargaining stage, if you will. Because if I feel like it's just kind of absurd on one hand to go down that route, especially given all of the very blunt facts about the nature of our world. I mean, I suppose you could poke at it a bit, but at the end of the day, it's just a lack of acceptance and trying to bargain for, you know, it just not being true. It's that not wanting to face it.
On a psychological level, we've been trained as kids to lie, not just to people, but to ourselves. Like think about like, you know, the story of Santa Claus. It's like, you know, at some point you had to accept that the people that you love lied to you about something you thought was real, and then you cope with it. They don't say, why? Well, I can't really say what your parent, like, I'm sorry for lying to you. I don't know what they've done, but I'm saying it's a conditioning. So when people come in here and we're like, what's wrong with you? Like, do you realize what you're saying? Perhaps not, because they don't have the thing that's inside of me that says, well, I'm lying. It's almost like that thing has been deactivated within us as children.
Yeah, I totally.
You might be on
It's a very good point.
I have a comment. My parents definitely apologized to me for lying when they told me it wasn't real. And then they asked me, shall we still continue the play of it like a culture? I was like, yeah, of course. I don't want to miss out. But they definitely apologized for lying about it.
I think it's a very good point on account of the fact that it took a lot of discussion between my wife and I in terms of how we would approach such things. And we came to the conclusion, as you're detailing, that it would be better not to lie. In other words, yeah, we still have Santa Claus, but we are in no way lying to her about what Santa Claus is. And in many instances, it's useful to teach them certain allegories. So in terms of things like monsters, you know, you can turn those into allegories about how it's comparable to people. Some people are bad, you know, things like that. Well, you can spin it in terms of the celebration and how we're celebrating and how we'll imagine that Santa's coming to give you the presents. Things like that. So, personally, obviously, I'm not going to decry anybody who just tells their kids Santa's real. But I'd prefer, with my kids at least, I don't lie to them. Just tell them like it is. They're not stupid.
Yep.
They'll still enjoy
I never
Santa.
told my kids about Santa. Never. I didn't want to share the glory with some big fat guy in a red suit. I let them know I worked my butt off to buy you these gifts.
Right.
I'm putting Santa Claus's name.
All my Christmas presents say from Dad. They don't say from Santa. All my Christmas presents say from Dad. You're not going to take my credit.
Well, this is what I mean by like when you're a child, you don't have the cognitive skills to stand up to a lie. So you're conditioned to accept it. The Santa story, you go to school and they start telling you you live on a globe, and then you go, well, how does that work? You're telling me people are upside down? Well, gravity. What? So you're saying we're stuck? But I don't feel. You mean like magnets? But I don't feel like I'm like all of the things that a child will bring up. Like all of that is snuffed out at a very young age, and I think this is why people don't understand how to deal with, cognitive dissonance.
Yes. I think that's why I had an advantage, because I was homeschooled for half my life and went to public school for half my life. And so I feel like I got the best of both worlds, because the first half was homeschooled, second half was public school. So like I got the individual attention I needed and the critical thinking, and then I wanted the social aspect of school. That's why I wanted to go to school. So, yeah, so it was like.
Well, that sounds like the better order, at least. To start out homeschooling close to the parent, when there's still all this like primal magic in there and the telepathy, so that doesn't get disrupted at an early age. And then later, like, okay, now you're going to have to face kind of a little bit more about society and what they want you to know.
Yeah, but you can get that elsewhere. You don't have to get it in a school.
Right.
Well, that's interesting.
As long as they're mentally prepared for it, that it's different, that like these are not your parents. Like they have to be there and understand that.
Right, but back.
Yeah, I think that anybody open to the idea of flat Earth has a certain like wiring of their brain, and how you get your brain wired that way, I don't know. It maybe not one thing, but there is a correlation between how our brains are wired and how we are more open-minded and not like these other globers.
I'm telling you, man, it's the ability to tell the truth. It literally, because again, we think about lying to others, but we're not considering when people lie to themselves. People do it all the time. What would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? A 10, knowing damn well you look like a dog. Come on, like we lie to ourselves all the time.
Yeah, it's ego.
Do you know?
That's ego self.
Well, it's the ability to stick up for truth, to actually defend it and not get gaslit. I think that this is probably one of the skills that we as, well, flat earth debaters right here tend to underestimate with the rest of the world out there, is that gaslighting can be really tough on people. Like they may have supreme difficulty defending against. It's very torturous to them because they haven't developed all this. They haven't developed all this security knowledge. They never got to that. They still rely on just the web of whatever is information soup is coming towards them. And they're prone to gaslighting compared to us. And we get all the psychological warfare as well. So we develop skin against it. Most people don't get confronted with that level.
Well, we're talking about the observably obvious versus what you're told and taught. So therefore, it's a difference in critical thinking versus comprehension. You're told Earth's a sphere, but you can critically think and analyse and assess your surroundings and come to the conclusion that it's obviously and observably flat, as declared by a lot of heliocentric priests, as a justification for why we don't see it being a sphere. Because it's obviously so flat from your
What's-
ground position. Well, okay,
What-
so it's obviously and observably flat, as conceded by both sides, but yet you're told completely the contrary. Now, if you've gone through a comprehensive education system, you're taught how to comprehend and regurgitate. Well, that's a very useful way of training somebody at a very early age, because those ideas are going to be cemented in their cognition for the rest of their life, unless they're critical thinkers, as opposed to workers.
What's funny is I think that the correlation between any student that went to school and caused disruption, like I always ask questions and caused a disruption and got in trouble in school because I asked questions. And I think there's a correlation between the people that were in school that asked those questions and the people that didn't, and where we are now.
Correct. That's basically everyone on the panel. I'm not going to regurgitate my story of exactly that, but I know there's a story from pretty much every single person on the G Plus panel about how they were kicked out of classes for being disruptive because they were questioning the education they would get rather than comprehending it.
Right.
Big difference.
Indeed.
Yep. Same here.
I think we are. Everybody here are the kids in school that question those things. So there are two types of people: the ones that questioned and the ones that just went along. And I think everybody here and everybody that's open to this idea and are those
Not
people.
idea, reality. I was sat in the back of the class. I had a permanent seat back there. The nuns used to just point, and I would walk there.
That doesn't surprise me. Educated by nuns.
No, Neil. No. I can't see that, Neil. Never.
No,
Is there
Neil,
some
the seating
point where
order
that
hasn't
questioning
changed
should
on the show
never
either.
or should stop?
Oh, Paul, you were the discussion of the pre-show. I'm going to get to you in a second after this super chat. Shout out to Godzilla37. The truth is hated by those who take comfort in lies. TY. Oh, thank you for the show, Nathan. Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for the super chat, Godzilla. So you were being slagged off by Neil.
I heard a piece of it. Didn't hear it all, but I heard a piece of it. But let me ask my question, though, because it's relevant to everything. At what point should you stop questioning?
Never.
Never?
When you're
To all
when
positions.
you know the truth. When you know the truth, what's the point questioning after that? You don't go and keep on asking sort of question
Exactly.
about
Once
something
you
that
know
you
the
know
earth
true.
is flat.
I would argue that even if you think you know the truth, to be open to you being wrong and there being other truth. Like you could be wrong.
Well, it's not true
Right?
then.
No,
Do you know what I mean?
no,
Either something is
no,
true or
no,
it's
no.
not.
No, you're not.
That's
You're
what-
not going to come across some truth and then find another truth that voids that
Exactly.
truth. That's not even how it works.
How many truths you got here?
That's not how it works. And here's
Was the
what we're
earth
dealing with.
obviously
We're dealing with
observably
if things
triangular?
Two people talking.
we're
Just Elijah. Thank you.
we're dealing with if things exist in reality, and we're dealing with if what someone is claiming is true. Those are the only two things that we have to deal with in this reality. Whether someone's telling the truth about something or whether or not it exists and can be validated to exist.
Okay, well,
Or
I was
verified
We're
wondering.
to
talking
exist.
about flat Earth, though.
Go on, Neil. And
It's
then
either flat or it's not. What's the story? And we all know
Well,
that it's
see, I
obviously
don't-
observably, and Nathan now
I don't
says
know.
measurably.
yeah,
So
so
they're
this-
ballers.
okay, hold on, everyone, hold on.
No.
All right, hold on. I just want to qualify because I was one of the people that said you should never stop questioning things, and I'll qualify that a bit further because it's a bit black
Right.
and white, and it doesn't need to be that black and white. Well, for a start, the only reason we're here is because we've questioned something that was supposed to be infallible, right? The idea that we're on a sphere,
Mhm.
but we've questioned it. So obviously, something that's
Right.
supposed to be demonstrably provable and true, we've questioned, and therefore we're here. But further to that, right, you can come into this arena, as we're talking psyops on this show, and you can find yourself tied to a model that's going to be burnt as a straw man in false dichotomy if you're not careful. Now, when you hitch your wagon to azimuthal equidistant projections with little balls of light moving around them in certain fashions, then you fell victim to comprehending something rather than questioning it. And you're just going to fall along the same old tired path that you went down to end up being on the globe, albeit with a lot more programming and a lot more indoctrination at a very early age. We've discussed, so I don't need to disclaim again. But ultimately, you will, without comprehension, without critical thinking and only comprehension, come across the on a plate models, and that's what you'll accept because that's what you've been given and you can comprehend it. So while I don't decry Mark Sargent in terms of what he does, he will describe how an azimuthal equidistant projection works. And when he explains to me why he does it in that way, is so that the people who are being technically criticised here, that don't have the critical thinking skills, can comprehend it as a new model. You go, okay, that's all well and good for somebody that's being brought into this arena, and then what are they going to do? They're going to demand answers rather than just questioning further. So when I say you don't stop questioning, it doesn't mean that certain inviolable truths need to continually be questioned. That's not what I mean. But I'm saying that you come to the obvious and observable flat nature of our reality, and then further to that realise that it's measurably and demonstrated on the measurements as being flat, no drop, then do you still go, okay, well, therefore this azimuthal equidistant projection must be correct, and obviously the sun is only 3,000 miles away and moving around in a circle, because I've stopped questioning things now. Well, no, you definitely need to keep questioning, because otherwise you'll just end up in someone else's camp, listening to some other guru.
Yeah, I was going to say, too, that if you know something, the truth can't contradict itself, or it's not the truth. If you know you measure the Earth flat because it's flat, stationary, like, the truth can't be opposed to that.
Exactly. Thank you.
I've got something to add on to that, and I'm curious to know if you've heard it, because it's similarly worded, but very important. There are no true contradictions. Now, think about that for a moment, because if one thing is true and another thing is claimed to be true, but it contradicts, there is no thing that contradicts in reality. There is only one of the two that has a false premise. It is misunderstood.
Yep, it's got
that
a
makes
law.
Sense?
Yeah, it's got a law. It's called the law of non-contradiction.
Exactly. There we go.
Can't be A and not A simultaneously.
Right. The truth is immutable, but you still have to discover it, though.
Well, let me tell you what I told 10th Man this morning.
Oh, yes,
clear.
Go ahead. Juicy.
The world presents itself flat to me every day, and I can't deny that. Now, for me to prove that it's not that, then I have to get out of the position that I'm in. I can't go there. So I have to trust someone else to tell me what the world is like outside of my perception. Now, do we trust the authorities in place that tell us the world is in a certain position? No, I don't trust NASA. I don't trust any of that. And I think most observations at ground level, and I've said this before, and I've even said on the show maybe once or twice, I think anything looking over at the horizon at best is inconclusive. At best. So you're trying to use something that changes, fluctuates to prove either side, it becomes a moot point because both are arguing either direction. If it's refracted, how can you truly measure something that's not in its true position? How can you? On both sides.
Okay,
almost both ways.
Yeah, we argue that.
Sort goes both ways.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hello, hold on. Yeah, but the first bit I'm getting to, because that's something that I can totally relate to, because the very first live stream I did with my wife, and that was the conclusion we drew, which is to say that, and it was the same thing that led me to Flat Earth, because I was like, I want to get higher to see the curve when I was a rep flying around all over the place. I knew from having a good understanding of heliocentrism that I couldn't get high enough in a commercial flight to see Earth curve. Now, we now know Earth curve's not the horizon, but back then I wanted to get higher. Now, when I came to Flat Earth, one of the discussion points with my wife on that very first live stream was we can't get into a position to see it all. That would be the same desire, to get into a position to look down upon the entirety. And if you can't do that, you can't draw the conclusion. Again, that's a logical discussion.
Well,
what was the guy that was discussing earlier? Thrice. Exactly. When you make that point about the law of non-contradiction, you're applying logic, critical thinking, and that's beyond a lot of people. Sorry, Paul. Feel free to
Well,
continue.
And one other
yeah.
thing.
Wait, hold.
one other
Wait.
thing.
I was going to.
Wait.
I'll go after
Hold
Eli.
on,
Well,
Eli wants.
because
Eli's keen. Go on, Eli.
I heavily disagree with you, Paul, because and here's why. Because you set it up saying, looking at the horizon is inconclusive. Well, it depends on the question you're asking. So again, this thing of right and wrong is like something that I'm trying not to deal with. It's more about, is it true or is it not true? So whenever you look up a PDF about, the geometry, or you're looking for, type in how to calculate the distance to the horizon. How do captains calculate the distance to the horizon? Anything that has to do with the distance to the horizon, whatever you find in those PDFs is not true.
This is clearly going to get juicy in the after show. So if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, stay tuned, as there's going to be some Flat Earth on Flat Earth action. However, if you're watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, or joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on a Premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Neil,
Can
Neil,
I-
calm down, Neil. Let Brian talk, and then Paul was still not finished.
Oh, you're the moderator now, Tent. Come on now. You said
No,
a couple
I'm
of
not-
things that offended me, and I'll call you later.
Oh my gosh, calm
That's
down.
the way Christians do things.
Well,
Is
can I
Nathan
get
back?
back in? I got several points to address. Go ahead. Go ahead, Brian.
Let me roll you in.
Okay.
So let me just roll you in, Paul. So meanwhile, on As the Earth Turns. Go ahead, Paul.
It's not turning.
Before
Okay.
we get into this,
There won't be. It'll be
Can I
very.
check one thing?
Wait. Can he respond to what I said though? Because he was waiting. We were waiting actually.
Dunno.
And I
Can you,
also
Paul?
wanted to put on the record that I don't disagree with Paul's sentiment. I don't think and I'm only I'm only hearing like from the sidelines how people feel about what they think Paul's position is, and I'm pretty sure that you guys are taking it the wrong way, especially with the way Nathan laid out what he just laid out there. Like I kind of I get where Paul's coming from.
Well, if someone would leave me to talk, the whole thing would be solved very fast. Every
Because I'm confused as shit.
observation. Sorry?
That's it, Paul. Go on, Paul. Fill us in. What's going on?
Oh.
I don't know anything about this. Nor do I really care, but it's
Okay.
amusing to an audience.
Well, it's funny, this is actually part of what we're starting to experience is on the flat Earth side and the polarization issue. And I brought this up. I don't think this discussion can even progress as long as there's a polarization. It can't. It's he said, she said. It's him against one against the other. And I'm not saying I'm holding in a sense a neutral position, trying to, and also I already told you how I see the world. Of course, Jesse's deciding to get fussy about this time. But let me sit back, calm her down for a second. She just wants to be held. Okay. But I mean, I've been listening for the last several months because I can't engage very much because obviously you guys just found out why. And all I hear is polarization. It's polarized. I mean, honestly, Neil, the fact that you reacted like you did is a proof. Because if you want to have a discussion, then the polarization cannot occur. I want to hold a position that I can be open to the evidence. And so you're saying I'm one way or the other. I already told you the world presents to me as flat. Now to address Elijah, but even 10th man would say that anything on the horizon has to be accounted for. anything. Even when the navigator's using it, they have to account for certain things when they're trying to use the horizon. So the horizon is an unknown, ambiguous place to look at. So we can't. Exactly. How can you use that as? So how can you prove that as evidence for either direction? It can't be used for either one.
I know I don't use it as proof that the Earth is flat.
Oh my God!
Whoa! 20 people talking.
Hold on. Let me get a mute. Hang on, I got to mute.
Hold
on, I got to mute.
Hang on, he addressed me.
Did address Neil first.
Okay, when I came into Discord, you said with your own mouth, I'm undecided, I'm on the fence right now. So how do you expect me to react to that? You are a guy I listened to before I even joined the show. I used to put it on YouTube and listen to you, and I liked your opinions and the way you viewed things. So it was freaking shocking to me, and I think it's the poison of that after show. And then I did get you out before you could say anything, so I'm guilty of that.
I'm sorry, Neil. This is your
Jesse's
problem.
getting fussy. Hang on a sec.
Yeah, just while you're sorting out, Jesse. This is your problem, Neil. This isn't Paul's problem. I'm sorry. It's the same thing I said in the pre-show, so you've heard it once from me already.
Oh, who cares what you say, Nathan?
But see, that's why I said what I said before the show rounded out. It's like we're all getting hung up on feelings and right and wrong. But what I'm saying is it true what they say about the horizon? No, I'm not making any additional claims.
Right.
That's all. Like what is this? It's inconclusive stuff. What is that?
Can I?
Inconclusive means.
Please, Brian. Please stop asking him to speak.
Hold on.
Well, I was trying to go before the end of the show ended.
Hold on. Just let Paul respond, then Brian next. Go ahead, Paul.
Inconclusive means basically to prove either one, and I actually said that. So you can't use the horizon to prove flat or globe because you've got the refraction is going to be a factor no matter what you do either direction. So I've actually used the actual curve calculator and showed the Earth sinking or things sinking on the horizon using just temperature. Of course, Jesse is not going to let me do this, but I've used it. On a flat globe, so it can be done either way.
That's not what I said. What I said was and I know everybody wants to jump in. This is the last time I'll interject. What I said was, is it true all of the calculators, all of the diagrams, the geometry, when you Google it and you ask where the horizon is, if you're asking that question, is it true? The answer is no.
Okay, we'll hear.
But I'm not using it as a
Eli,
proof of a flat Earth.
Okay, right. We get it. It's expressly stated that the black swan is debunking the assertion that the Earth has a sphere-edge horizon. That's what it's doing, right? That in turn debunks the radius. A claim that is made, an extraordinary claim that we're on a sphere. Now, we don't use that as a flat Earth proof. It isn't a flat Earth proof. It's a globe Earth debunking, expressly made clear throughout the entirety of this time with the black swan. It's debunking the claim that we're on a sphere. It starts off by making the claim we're on a sphere in modus tollens, if Earth's a sphere, right? Well, it's not a flat Earth proof. It's a globe Earth debunking. So the horizon, I can't think of any examples that use the horizon as a flat Earth proof. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
They don't actually, and here's something else to consider. There's black swans all over the place and people don't even realize it, which means the horizon should be closer than it's being observed. So which means there has to be upward and downward refraction for that to occur. Right. If the horizon presents itself further away at any point, then there has to be some other aspect of refraction in play. So yes, the globers can argue something is dropped off behind the horizon and that's Earth curve. But if technically, according to their own math, the horizon should be closer even than in that picture, then it's still refraction. I mean, you're back to square one again.
Sure.
It's like,
can I say something now?
Wait for Brian, because Brian's in the queue. Then 10th. Go ahead, 10th. I've also got 10th's picture up of a perfect mirror reflection. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Nathan. Every photograph you see, every single photograph that was ever taken does not have standard refraction within it. Standard refraction doesn't exist because the geometric horizon doesn't exist. The very thing it needs to exist. So we're not on a globe. That's the end of that. Now,
All right.
whatever, if people want to, just because my fizz not coming out the way I wanted it to come out. You know, this is all poison now. But I put it this way: whatever, if someone wants to, this is bamboozling my mind here. Airplanes. Can someone tell me how they fly over anything but a flat plane? I'm not getting this.
It's
Or
okay,
can you tell me
Brian.
that?
Brian, you don't need to launch into a load of flat Earth proofs. I know the temptation
Yeah, but
is there.
I think I
hear it in
do.
your
Like, that's
voice.
how I
You're
feel, Nathan.
Say again?
That's how I feel. I feel as if, like, we don't have conclusive evidence. What do you mean we don't have conclusive
I
evidence?
know we do. I know. I realise.
Exactly my
So
point.
I feel your pain. I
My
feel your pain.
point.
Right, what Brian and Neil especially are expressing is their exasperation when somebody who has seemingly realised the obvious and observable nature of our reality turns around and goes, "Well, I don't know, maybe not." You're like, "What? What about this and that and the other?" Yeah, okay, but that's. I'm not gonna. This is gonna sound so offensive. That's your insecurities again, Brian.
Can I just? That's exactly my point, really, Nathan. I've sat here this afternoon
That's
and
not true.
listened to a bunch of fundies try and tell me that Santa Claus don't exist. Right? I've got stacks of evidence. I know he does. Right? But I don't feel the need to have to try and. People have subtle differences in the group, and on the journey, you're not going to help Paul on his journey. Yeah, by berating him. He's making a valid point.
Who's berating him?
Oh,
well, it
whatever. The cookies are eaten,
And
therefore
the
it's
reason 5 people
inconclusive
are
that Santa
interrupting
exists or
Adam.
not.
The reason 5 people are interrupting him is making Adam's point for him. Right? This has, fact, triggered lots of people. Now, I can totally relate. I understand it. I'm not laughing at you, by the way, when I'm smiling. It's a good discussion point. And I get the outrage, right? And I could rattle off a whole load of flat earth proofs to appeal to Paul. But that's not the point. I want Adam to continue. Please try and contain your triggered nature, you bunch of fundies.
Well, I mean, that is we're all on our journey, guys, and I don't think that reaction helps anybody on the journey. And I think if you listen to Paul's, I don't think it's very different to Anthony's true position. And I think if I was forced into putting my hand on my heart and making statements about the nature of reality, what I tend to be able to do is be a pseudoscientist. I can only make statements about what it isn't with any 100% assurity. And for me, that doesn't stop me calling myself a flat earther, but for some people it does. They like to use the title globalist denier, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Point is, none of us believe the bullshit rhetoric. Let's just focus on that. And like I said, don't be offended. I listen to you guys poo-poo Santa. Didn't feel the need to jump in or get irate. I'm happy knowing that Santa exists on my own, and I'll stick with that thought on my own, and I don't want to pervert your thoughts on it. I'm happy for you to accept that as well. But there will be
well, how did he make it to every house in the hood?
Perfect example. That's exactly right. Stop. Perfect timing. Exactly. So the temptation is to now appeal to Adam about how fake Santa is. Yeah, don't worry about it. Just be secure in your own understanding and knowledge that Santa's not real. And be happy that Adam can believe in whatever he likes, and that is how it should be. Right? Now, for all the people around, this is speaking to Paul's point, for all the people in the flat earth community, which I hate, not the community, the idea of a community, when it's just that I understand that the nature of reality is flat, that means I'm part of your group. I'm fucking not. Right? And you bunch of fundies. I'm not part of your group. Sod off. Don't tie me to your mast because I'm not part of your group.
While I agree with that,
Thanks, Nathan.
I do agree with that. That's why I said, I feel you on that front. But if you're gonna say that whether it's flat or globe is inconclusive, I can't accept it.
Yeah, you said you're repeating yourself, Eli. We
I'd
heard.
like a minute. Can I get a minute?
Nope.
Yes, 10th. You've been waiting a while.
Agreed.
Okay.
My minute, Neil.
Right, so everyone turn it down from
I'm
11
just
to at least
agreeing with
3.
somebody, 10.
Right, you need to turn it down from 11 to 3, just so that 10th man can at least get 1 point in. Go ahead, 10th.
All right. Yes. The sextant, and I want to address Paul because he brought up the horizon. And so the sextant is a navigational tool. It has nothing to do with refraction. It has to do with straight lines. It's a glorified protractor. You must have a baseline that's straight. It doesn't matter if the horizon is refracted or not. You have to go down to sea level and have a straight line for 3,000 miles, 5,000 miles, 6,000 miles. If you're sighting that star, that's far away based on the degree reading you get. The refraction has nothing to do with the sextant. What a refraction is how the star or the luminary you're sighting might be refracted, natural refraction, not 7/6R refraction, just normal refraction because of the density of the air from the sea level up to 15 degrees above the sea level. So they say, we have calculations to work around it, but don't bother. It's a lot easier to shoot something like a star that's above 15 degrees off the horizon than anything below that 15 degrees. So just to correct what I'm saying, and so Paul gets what I'm saying, is that refraction and sextant, it has nothing to do with it, because refraction has to do with the star hitting the density of the Earth's air at the lower levels. But for the sextant to work, it has to function as a right angle, which means it doesn't matter what the horizon looks like one day or another. It must be flat for the duration of the 6,000 miles for you to sight that star that has a geographical position 6,000 miles away when it's at its zenith. So there is no argument about the face of the Earth.
And I'd just like to
Well,
point out,
I guess I misunderstood.
Hold on,
from Santa as well.
Hold on, Adam. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, I misunderstood but I mean, at least when you're saying about the star, I guess that's what I was misunderstood. But even in arguing the star point, that means there's still refraction. So you can't go down a certain point where refraction's in play. Ultimately, I guess that was my point.
There is no refraction when the star is at your zenith position. Even they say there's no refraction that's directly above you. And when you're shooting the star, let's say you're 3,000 miles away from that star. You're shooting that star at its GP position where there's no refraction. It's the angle that you have to that star's zero refraction GP position. That's your right angle working for you. So mathematically, it's impossible for the curve to exist and get a reading. It must be straight. It must be flat. It has to be 180. And it works every time. So it doesn't matter what my eyes see, because if I can't even see the horizon, they have something called an artificial horizon. You fill it with a liquid, molasses or water, depending if it's stationary and it's not moving much. And then you get your reflection of the sun off of that. And you divide it by 2, and it's the same reading. Because the water stays level in that container, the artificial horizon. Just look it up.
Oh, I do
it has to be
from
flat.
Adam, but I want Paul to respond because I want to see if he's comprehending how you would require a flat surface beneath you for that to work.
No, I understand that. I get the idea. I guess the argument that I missed on his, because he said that you can't use a star below 15 degrees. The reason is because there could be atmospheric conditions or something going on that's affecting that star. Now, I understand the flat surface part, and I misunderstood when you were describing it earlier. But the point is, I think it's still valid. So if you're shooting a star at the horizon, it's technically may not be in this true position because of the horizon being refracted.
No, they don't shoot.
That's
my point is, Paul,
So
they don't shoot a star at the horizon.
Okay, that's fine.
They line up the sextant to the horizon, and then they shoot a star 15 degrees higher to get the correct reading.
I got you. I understand that. I got the idea.
That's it.
Perfect. Adam, sorry to cut you off earlier.
No, I was only being flippant, but we're back on flat Earth, so it's all good.
Okay.
Excuse me, I would like to address something in this.
Go ahead.
The claim about the horizon. It doesn't really matter except when you're making an extra claim about reality. We measure a plane. Now, if you're going to assume it's a tangent plane, like a geodetic surveyor, it cannot be refracted because you don't have a tangent if it is. We measure a plane. That's how we know it's flat.
Right, that's the point I was trying to make to Paul. In other words, the surface that's being worked with is a plane in both instances. Why? Well, because that is the surface that we're dealing with. And while you're saying, well, when you're a geodetic surveyor, you're drawing a zenith and then you're mapping out to the horizon what they assume to be a tangent to give them a tangent plane, well, what's the end result of all that nonsense? A flat surface to work on? Yeah. And the principle applies across when you're trying to make your get your position with a sextant. The principle would only work.
That's the important point Tenth was making, I think. It's not just the ground that with these measurements is flat. It's a flat plane rotating above your head as well. That's.
Hold on, got some mumbling. Who's mumbling?
Somebody's snoring, number one. That's what that is.
I don't know if it's a protest or if it's.
I don't know. Don't care.
Come on, that's terrible. Wake the hell up.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Who's snoring?
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, don't give it much time.
Who was doing that? I thought I'd muted the person that did it, then it carried on. Okay. Anyway, who cares about the person that's snoring for whatever reason?
Oh, and one more thing about the extraordinary claims of Earth being a sphere. They all require a radius.
Indeed.
All of them. So if you don't have any proof of something, why would you believe it?
Because Santa.
Nathan.
Yes, Brian, go ahead.
Could I do a small presentation on your after show tomorrow? You won't have to stop the show. It'll still be the same show. And you can clip out the presentation if you feel like it afterwards. It's up to you. I won't be offended. But it's about the sun and perspective and a couple of bits like that. Would that be possible?
Yeah, definitely. That sounds great. Yes, please.
Thank you.
And you know what? I guess I'm always trying to take the emotion out of it, but for the audience sake, like, flat earthers are human beings, right? Like, so I think the emotion is coming from, Paul being a good guy. He seems like a good guy. And when I watched the show, he was top 3 in my favorite panel members. Top 3.
No, you're right.
So
I agree.
I feel away. But,
no, you're right. Paul was definitely top 3. Now he's just another globehead scum.
No.
I'm gonna say it like you broke my heart.
I'm not saying that.
Broke my heart.
For me, it's frustrating because
am I gonna have to go back and I've been busy at work. I don't know what's going on really, but what?
Sort it out, chocolate. Sort it out.
Oh shit! What the hell did I miss?
Chocolate's still trying to get in the Kool-Aid. Don't know the flavor.
We're just in the process of what's the word when you send somebody out into the wilderness? Called. It's got a term. Exiling. That's right. We're just in the process because we're fundies also, and based on the fact that we have a flat Earth cult that has very strict rules about what you're allowed to believe, Paul's not a part of that anymore. So fuck off, Paul.
That's not true, Nathan. Stop it.
What are you talking about? I've made this decision as the leader of this group, and I decide. So know your place,
yes,
Neil.
Nathan.
Neil.
Community, Nathan. It's community.
Right.
Well, appreciate what Nathan is doing because, I mean, you may think, oh, come on, that's ridiculous, but that is a representation of how flat earthers act because we're human. Like,
I think he should have to change his icon to a dunsat until he changes his views.
Act.
Yeah, like a dunsat on his icon till he changes his views back into alignment with us.
There are
I
certain
agree.
sections of Flat Earth, in brackets, community, that are just like that, and it makes me sick. And that's why I can play the character so easily, because I've seen it so many times.
For me, it's frustration. And I'll tell you why. It's very frustrating for me because a lot of people have put a lot of effort into this. And I put a lot of effort into it. I had to learn a lot of rubbish about gravity and other things because of this debate. I had to learn about special relativity, general relativity, all kinds of nonsense, right? Because of this. There's all kinds of stuff I still haven't even put out that I've been working on that are supporting a flat stationary plane. And for me, it's frustrating when somebody who's been around for several years, and Paul, this is directed straight to you, can just go, I don't know. I mean, what's the point of all the effort? How many proofs do you need?
I agree with you 100%, Brian. You and I are always on
That's
the
where
same
I'm at.
page.
Yeah.
We're always on the same page.
What's changed in your head, guys? Why?
It's that nothing's changed in our head. That's where you're
But Brian's saying, I've done this, I've done that. Yeah, you did it for you.
Doesn't matter.
I don't agree. I don't agree
If I
one
did
bit.
it for me, I wouldn't have put it out in the public.
Oh, well, if you feel that way, that's bad, Brian.
So you guys are robots.
Oh,
No.
God. That's terrible. Because, in a way, you're saying to the audience, then, because I've given you this information, you owe me.
No, that's not what he's saying.
I don't mean it that way at all. That's not how I mean it.
Come on.
It's not like that. It's that I can only speak for me, but I see it with a lot of other people. How many people out there have put in effort? I go, take me out of it. Look at all the people that put in effort for the past 6 years. And someone who is a long-term person in this, let's call it, I don't know if you call it a community, but within this debate and on our side, is like, I don't know. Like, what's the point of all the effort if that's the outcome?
I could see if some astronomical proof came, Brian.
You can ask him. What was the point, Paul? What was the point?
Yeah, Paul, I took one in the nuts in Rome for you.
Yeah, Paul.
No, but
6 years I've been doing this show. This is how you repay me.
But that's the thing, right? Like, so you're gonna tell him what this was worth? Okay. Well,
let me let me respond, Elijah.
Yeah.
Since I got a minute, it's calm for just a second. I can't do the work like you guys have, okay? And we're told all the time that we should trust someone else to do the work for us, like NASA, scientists. You guys are doing the work. I have to. Of course, Jesse decides to scream, obviously. Okay, but let me try to get it out. I can't do the work. I've got 2 kids I'm trying to raise with my wife, and I'm working, So I have to just kind of accept your guys' work, which it doesn't mean that I don't. I look at it, evaluate it, I listen, and then I make my own conclusion, just like I do on the other side as well. So if you're getting mad because I'm not accepting your evidence, like Nathan said, I'm sorry, that's on you. I mean, I listen and I hear it. I'm not fully give up on flat Earth. It's not gone. And I've not fully embraced the globe either. So,
Paul, I'd just say, mate,
don't take it personally.
Don't do the way by being honest, right? The way you've been from start to finish, that honesty is the work. That's all anybody can ever ask of you. No one should ask you what to believe. You're being honest with us, and there's people out there that are flip-flopping like this right now, and your testimony, I think, will be helpful to many because of your honesty, mate. I thank you for it. To stick your neck out and be honest is brave.
I don't know how. I've seen no astronomical proof that the Earth is a sphere.
We don't. Stop. Stop appealing to him with flat Earth proofs. Just stop it.
Can I hear exactly what? If Paul, if you could speak again, what exactly is your stance, so I don't get like a Cliff Notes version from someone else? Like, what exactly is your stance right now?
Right now, the world presents to me as flat. And for me to have proof that it's other than that, I cannot get in that position. So I'm open. I'm in a position of openness. That's kind of where I'm at. So as I'm going to live my life as if the world's flat, because that's the way it presents itself. And I have to trust everyone else to tell me that it's not that. It's the only position I have right now. So, because I can't go out and do the work necessary to prove it to myself 100%.
That's not that bad. I don't. What?
Exactly.
He just said I haven't given up. Wait a second. He just said I haven't given up on flat. I haven't given up totally on flat. And then he comes back with this. You're confusing the crap out of me.
But he said that's what it presents itself to him. That's what it presents itself to him as. So that's what he's got, right?
Yeah, nothing wrong with
That's
that.
what he said.
So he's saying he doesn't have
But that's
proof
what we
for
all got.
flat Earth. Hold on, he's saying he doesn't have proof for the flat Earth conception that most people will ask him for. What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
And you guys are going to tell me.
Prove the flat Earth. I don't know how you can claim it's flat when you've got
Rumpus,
sunsets and
shut
dipping
the
in the
hell up.
There's your point.
Rumpus,
Here's what you got to look forward to.
Can you shut up? Hello? Rumpus was trying to talk and now you're all rumpusing him. Go ahead, Rumpus.
The Earth does not present itself as flat. A simple sunset, the Polaris, and things disappearing over the horizon all present themselves as curved.
Horizon's not Earth curve.
Sounds like stupidity.
Yes, on the flat Earth, there would be no disappearance at all of things bottom up. You wouldn't have a Polaris changing angle, and you wouldn't have and you can't have sunsets on a flat Earth or sunrises. You can't have the sun disappearing below the horizon on a flat Earth. Otherwise,
keep going, Rumpus.
Watch
Keep going.
my presentation tomorrow. Hang on.
Hello.
Rumpus, watch my presentation tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've
you're
already
a moron.
explained
You
this
don't
to you.
understand. You don't understand Newton. You
You're
don't
a
understand
fool.
G. You don't
Guys,
understand
three
Ford.
people
You
responding
copy
and
and
Rumpus
paste.
is jumping
no
to
idea
chaos.
what you're doing.
Hello?
Have your own
Just one response to him. Yeah. Who was going to take it? Brian?
Yes, Nathan, I take it.
Fine.
Rumpus, you can be presented with anything. He'll never, ever, ever accept it. He'll never even give it a thought. He doesn't give anything a second thought. He doesn't say, that's interesting. He's only doing his best to enforce his model. That's all he's ever doing.
But you don't have anything.
He has never
you're
presented one
anti-science,
piece
Brian.
of physical
You don't
evidence.
understand
He's never
science.
presented a
You can't
video or a
present any
demonstration.
science
He's
to
never
support
presented
your
anything more
position.
than diagrams and
You
beliefs.
can't present any science, Brian. You don't understand it. You don't even understand what
You don't
big
know what-
G is.
well,
You
define science
you
for us all
claimed
then,
it was the
Rumpus.
speed of light, you moron.
Just spewing and
Say that again, I missed that part.
Stop. Let's
You
just address
claimed
one.
G,
Big
G was the speed of light.
Hello?
You moron.
No, I didn't,
Hello?
Rumpus.
Trying to regain some control. Let's just deal with one claim at a time. You said that things don't disappear bottom up on a flat plane. I personally have shown that they can disappear bottom up on a flat surface.
No, you haven't. In your example, you put it underneath a step.
In my example, where things disappear bottom up on a flat surface, yes, that's right. I have shown it.
No, you haven't.
Yeah, I have. There's plenty of videos. I've got a whole playlist of other people doing it too. It's called Angle of Attack, where people lower and raise their camera, forcing things to disappear bottom up.
Doesn't happen.
It's got a whole playlist of other people also showing this effect. You can absolutely limit the angle and cause things to disappear bottom up.
No, you can't.
That's just a lie. It's demonstrated
This
in my
is why
playlist.
we
Feel
call
free
you
to check it out.
delusional, Rumpus, because you deny actual reality.
Yesterday in Brandon.
And assert
Is that the
nonsense.
Sky Free one? Is that the Sky Free demo on the very little boat on a
No,
lake?
it was Parmenius, or he demonstrated with a laser opening his garage door and allowing cold air to come in.
Right, that is caused by a very narrow band, which effectively is an inferior mirage. Now, I do accept that inferior mirage will block a very small proportion of the bottoms of objects, but it's very tiny and does not account for the fact we're missing huge great wads of wind turbines or boats, big tall boats or mountains. It only can account for a very, very small angle, so it's not relevant.
Okay, quick question. The inferior mirage that you describe, that's not the refraction that's used in your Earth curve calculator. That's called terrestrial refraction. So my question is, why would you mention this miraging effect that isn't part of your calculation for a globe Earth?
Well, inferior mirage is a very complicated refraction effect, and they do obscure a very small angular size of the bottom of objects. But if you've got a big enough object, you can still have the bottom of it. The inferior mirage is so small it cannot account for the amount of an object that is missing. It's a very small effect, but it does happen if you want to play around the very small.
That's double speak. You've just said it doesn't happen, but it's a very small effect, so it does happen then.
Cause those to be obscured.
So it does happen. You're just double speaking. You're not listening to me.
It's an area of magnitude, Nathan. It's a very small effect.
So it is an effect. So when you say it doesn't ever happen, and then you say it's a very small effect, it does happen then.
Of losing great wads of the
Right,
bottom.
you're not listening to me. I'm pointing out to my audience now because Rumpus has lost the plot and won't listen to any responses. He's made it explicitly clear with about 3 or 4 sentences that it's an effect that never happens. Right, then he goes on to describe how it negligibly happens. That's doublespeak.
Didn't happen. Didn't you not listen to what I said?
You didn't listen to what I said because I asked you about how this mirage would be in Earth curve calculations that rely on R for refraction. You didn't detail my answer. You described the effect in the environment we experience, not in your globe geometry, which was my question you ignored.
They are not included in conventional Earth curve calculators.
Perfect. So your terrestrial refraction requires R, and we've debunked it with the black swan.
No, you haven't. The black swan.
Yeah, we have. We've debunked R.
Nathan, I mean...
Stutter for me. That's right. We've debunked R with the black swan. That's correct. And your refraction in globe Earth maths requires R. We've debunked it with the black swan.
Do you think mirages debunk...
Not mirages. See, you're doing it again. I've already clarified that when you say mirage, that's not terrestrial refraction. And you've also conceded only moments earlier. No, that's right. It's not terrestrial refraction. So I don't give a crap what you think mirages have got to do with your geometry, which needs R, and we've debunked it with the black swan.
No, terrestrial refraction just simply means...
Terrestrial refraction's debunked. It's got R in it. We debunked it.
What? No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. It's got R. We debunked R.
You're talking about standard refraction.
Yeah, terrestrial refraction, otherwise known as standard refraction, 7/6R in standard form. It's debunked. It's got R in it. We've debunked it.
Terrestrial refraction's just...
It's debunked. Yeah, we've debunked it. You don't need to babble on about it. We've debunked it.
Stars, as opposed to looking at stars. The reason that R appears in the standard refraction...
Yeah, we've debunked R, so we've got a refraction that you're moving horizons with that we've debunked, because you've got an R in it, and we've debunked R.
Just finish the sentence.
Suck my balls! We've debunked R! On screen for my audience right now is the rebuttal to the Black Swan. What they do to respond to the fact that the geometric horizon they used to claim block boats and buildings and is used to derive R is in this location on this image. But what has happened? Well, it's been refracted to this position with terrestrial refraction based on R. And they derive R from a geometric horizon that they've no longer got. So we've debunked R.
You went on deafening.
That was a mess.
Oh, while I was pointing out how we debunked R, did he fundy mute every single word of it while the gate was closed?
Yes.
Yes.
It does.
Oh, what a shock! That's because we've killed Earth as a sphere with an argument called the Black Swan. And there is no rebuttal. When I point out that his refraction, and he attempted to use the old bait and switch, talk about mirages, something that really exists, but when I point out that that's what isn't used in his maths, and what is used is terrestrial refraction with an R value, you can be damn sure that he will try and censor that from an audience. Because that's where Earth as a sphere dies. You haven't got R. We debunked it with the Black Swan. Try and fundy mute it all you like, Rumpus. We killed R. And you can't apply refraction that's got R in it if you haven't got R. You'd need a geometric horizon to have it. And you're telling us how it's not geometric anymore. So what are you going to do? You're going to fundy mute every word of it. Or try to.
There was another subtlety there that I wanted to ask him about. And it's the very first thing he claimed, and it caught my eye. Because obviously the R argument it's the nail in the coffin. But the first thing he said was concerning how things don't disappear from the bottom up as a claim, when I wanted to ask him simply, are you ignoring perspective? And is that any bit something you should consider? Well, obviously, yes, he's ignoring the thing of perspective. Things do get smaller in the distance, and they will eventually go to the vanishing point. And since the person's legs are closer to that vanishing point than, say, their torso and head, it will begin there. And I think that whole that whole start I just found really interesting, because he just completely dismissed that we have this thing called perspective. It was a very subtle but very quick, like, okay, here you go, see you later, and he just ran with it.
Yes, and the way they exclude it is
Like-
on screen for my audience right now. So we've got the picture of Al-Biruni's measurement of the geometric horizon to derive an R value by way of an imaginary horizon drawn as a straight line on the top of this picture, which is called the celestial horizon, an imaginary 90-degree position from a zenith at A to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. Now, in this diagram, it is exclusive of perspective. In other words, this position at C isn't changing with distance in terms of its angular size. You could say that C is a 100-foot building, and it doesn't matter how far around this presupposed spherical Earth C is, it's still a 100-foot building, because that's how you represent things in an orthographic way. Now, what is orthographic view? Well, it's this particular way of looking at things, and it's exactly the same way that they calculate them in globe Earth maths. So you have you at your position, or Al-Biruni's position, at A. You have your target at C. Now you might think, well, what's the issue? Well, the issue is that a photograph doesn't present you with the side of your own head when you're at a mountain. You never get to see a view where you can see the side of your own head and the target in the same frame. Now, in that framework, without perspective, and 100-feet buildings that don't change with distance, the net result is you can remove the fact that things do disappear from bottom up due to angular limitations by removing all angular relationships in orthographic view. So instead of this object at C getting smaller in angular size as it gets further away from your viewing position, which is depicted because obviously you get to see your own head when you take a photograph, well, that 100-foot building doesn't account for perspective. What they do call the fact that things do disappear from bottom up due to angular limitations, that's perspective, they call that effect Earth curve.
Well, you have a you have a building, you know, and you're looking up at it, and the angle that's in that create, like, you're looking up at, like, oh shit, I'm in the middle of the street. Sorry.
That's okay.
But you're looking up, and as you back away from the building, you realize it's getting closer and closer to 90 degrees from the angle it was when the building was right in front of you. So how could he say that the angle is minuscule? Because if a building was thousands of miles away from me, that angle would then be very, 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 very small. Too small for me to resolve anything in within it, you know?
What Rumpus was referring to there at one point, he said, oh, you can't account for things that are missing thousands of feet. What Rumpus is referring to is an effect called visual occultation that none of them ever want to deal with or address. They just want to say that something in the foreground, which is always higher, at equal height or higher than, or around the same height or higher, mostly higher than the elevation of the observer, right? That this is higher than an actual real world larger object in the background. So there's a photograph at the moment that Conspiracy Cats is going around with, where somebody is lower than the Blackpool Tower, the tower in Blackpool, and in the distance at the background, in 60 miles away or something, there's mountains that are lower than the Blackpool Tower. So what they're talking about there is they're taking the height of the Blackpool Tower and they're taking the height of the mountains, and they're coming up with there's thousands of feet missing. It's not. It's a visual effect called visual, or sometimes called photographic occultation, and I'll be showing this tomorrow at the very start of what it is, and that's what Rumpus is.
You've no idea what you're talking
So
about.
Nathan,
I know exactly what I'm talking about, Rumpus. And
Absolutely, I am an expert on this.
You're an expert at numptiness. You're a friggin'
no, you're
star
more
on
on
numpty clips.
You couldn't even get
Mr.
that elevation.
Elevation is from the center of the earth, and then elevation is not the center from the earth.
Yes, because I have to simplify it for morons
Yeah,
like
you have to simplify it. You're a
you do know
doofus,
there are different sorts of
numpty
elevation, don't
dipshit.
you?
Shut the hell up. You're going to be a star. You got your own wing on a numpty clips. You double-speaking numpty dipshit.
To back Brian as he was challenged by Rumpus. So, yeah, they do remove all aspects of angular size by ascribing only the feet and inches value. So in Brian's description, he's got Blackpool Tower at a feet and inches value, and then mountains in the distance. Well, it's a bit like on Father Ted, when Father Ted's explaining to Dougal that this cow is small, holding up a small toy cow, but those cows are far away. Now, obviously, if you've got that little toy cow right in front of your eyeball, you can obscure the big cow that's far away. Now, the way you do it in their mathematics is saying, well, this cow is only an inch, whereas this cow's 4 foot. Oh, really? Well, given that the 4 foot of cow is only a tiny dot in your peripheral vision because it's very far away, does that mean that it's easily ascribable in comparison terms with its feet and inches value that's much bigger than the cow that's small but covering your entire eyeball? Obviously not. The angular size changes, that's called perspective, but they remove all aspects of it when they compare the feet and inches values of a mountain with the feet and inches value of a tower in the near foreground. Not to mention, as Eli or whoever it was speaking before Brian pointed out, when you're next to the tower, you have to crane your neck and look up to see the top of it. When you're 4 miles away from it, you're looking 90 degrees to it. So obviously there's been a change in angle as it's got further away. But it's the same feet and inches value, right? That hasn't changed. Well, then it's very useful when the angle becomes so acute that it obscures the bottom because you haven't got enough resolution with a limited angle against the deck. Ergo, it disappears from bottom up. Well, if you can call that effect absolutely and unequivocally demonstratable by anybody as an effect of perspective and a limitation of the angle against the deck, if you can call that effect an obstruction because of a physical horizon called Earth curve, then you can assert in geometry that excludes perspective that the Earth's a sphere and the horizon is Earth curve. It isn't.
So Nathan, what we were doing, I was trying to talk to Rumpus about is that there was an experiment, or measurement done with weather, colder weather. Now, from sunset to sunrise, the location of the sun has an effect of the gradient, weather gradient, temperature that we're looking through, that miraging may occur more. What's your take
Got
on
a
that?
visual for you in Master B, Nathan.
Thank you.
For your point.
Miraging, just so I can speak to that, isn't what they're going to use in Globe Earth Maths. That's where Rumpus started his little Discord rumpusing session with me. Because his refraction relies on R, and when he talks about mirages and I ask him where it is in the calculator, he very tentatively admits that it's not in there. And I say, well, what is in there? 7/6R terrestrial refraction, otherwise known as standard refraction? Yes, it is, yeah. Oh, well, we've debunked our rumpusing ensues. So they will bait and switch real effects that we observe, like mirages, with their 7/6R terrestrial refraction. Refraction is not terrestrial refraction. Just so that's clear. And when you discuss refraction with them, they may, like Rumpus just did, be able to detail how mirages work really convincingly. But at some point, he's got to change that suitcase out for the one with terrestrial refraction in it, and we've debunked R. But I just don't let them anymore. All right, why are you talking about mirages? Are they in your calculator? My first question to him. No, they're not. Why the hell are you babbling on about them then? Well, because at some point, after seeming educated about mirages, he's going to bait and switch and insert R. Well, he can insert R somewhere else. Got your picture up, shits and giggles. Or, sorry, shit shrinks. Yes, indeed it does. Got a little toy dinosaur, and they've got a man in the background. Well, surely the man's 6 foot, right?
Hashtag shit shrinks.
Yeah. Not
It's subtle.
Well, right, I get what you're saying, but the location of the sun can affect our observation, is what I'm asking you.
But that's true. It depends. At different times of day, you're more likely to get certain mirages and certain effects. And also depending on the season. you're going to have more
Right.
certain. You're going to have more of a particular effect one time a year than another. More often.
So what? Sorry, but so what?
It's not Earth curve, it's weather conditions.
Oh, by the way, that
maybe
hashtag shit shrinks, that is the end of Fantasy Geodesy right there from a first grader.
Shit sink.
Well, that's what they do. Check out any presentation by Jesse Kozlowski. And what he will do is he'll take a lantern, line it up with the horizon, and at a distance he'll say, look, it's lower. You go, yeah. Oh, that's because Earth curve, is what he'll say. You go, no, that's because of perspective.
Yep. It's that simple, folks. This is where we're at. Fantasy Geodesy's over. Hashtag shit shrinks.
Good show today.
It's all over. It's all a wrap for these people.
Well,
this is ridiculous.
Well, as far as mirages are concerned, in order to have a reflection of an image that's there, doesn't it require a flat surface?
Yeah, that's true with the reflection as well. So back on 10th Man's image. Oh, where's it gone? I think it might be in a different Discord, a different Skype chat, but I'll just bring up the image that 10th Man shared earlier. Oh, it is the last one. There we go. So yeah, this reflection, this perfect reflection, not achievable on their claim of gravity holding Earth in a ever curving surface. Well, you don't get this image. You just can't achieve it. It has to be flat to achieve this image. It's just that simple.
Well, as Nathan, as you said earlier, all refractive effects have to be across a flat plane because there is no refractive effects in the globe model.
Correct.
Their refraction involves light being bent around a curve at the rate of 7/6R, which is based on a
No, it's more
geometrical
fundamental than that.
exist.
It involves the atmosphere curving, which is that's why I call it paradoxical refraction.
Yeah, refraction isn't globe refraction or terrestrial refraction or standard refraction. Yep. That's not refraction. Simple as that.
It's so subtle when they do it, though.
Technically,
I
mean,
just give that guy
if
props.
you take out the images.
Hold on, sorry, Eli.
I'm
Just
sorry?
give that guy props. Yes, it's very, very subtle. They will talk educatedly about refractive effects all day long, and then when you're least expecting it, they will substitute in their globe refraction at 7/6R, and 99 times out of 100, no one will notice. Very subtle indeed.
And I say that
the swindle
because
it's a swindle. It's a cheat.
Isn't it just wizardry? Because if you take out the images,
Of course,
in your mind, like,
More
cause
like
I
a
get an
parlor
image when
trick.
they say 7/6R and all of this, and it's like, but that's not really light bending. That's just them changing the radius.
Yeah, that's all they're doing in an orthographic view that we don't see with the side of your own head in the mathematics. Yeah, none of it's real. The R value it's based on you can't see in reality, and you don't get to see the side of your own head when you make measurements of things that don't change in actual size, because somehow we're going to ascribe actual sizes to things that are far in the distance. But all of those logical, non-logical steps that they have in the globe Earth maths are eradicated when you destroy R. And that's where we're at. And they're still trying to salvage this R value by way of a paradoxical move of the horizon that they got R from in the first place. So, it really is game over. And when they talk about refraction, it's always going to be terrestrial refraction for them when it gets down to the nitty-gritty of their claim Earth's a sphere. But they'll talk all day about real refraction so that they can do that very subtle bait and switch. And it is just a swindle, a cheat, a con. Anyway, that's where I'm going to round out. So with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and becoming a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
lovely day.